Welcome to Manic Ramblings Sober Thoughts, a podcast about men's mental health told through the eyes of a bipolar alcoholic in recovery. I'm Zachary Rose and I'll be your host. In a world where nearly 80% of suicides are men, millions are silently fighting battles nobody sees. Too many men are struggling with depression, trauma, addiction, bipolar disorder, anxiety, and loneliness completely alone. Many go undiagnosed for years because they were taught to stay quiet, suck it up, and keep moving no matter how bad things get. This podcast is for the men trying to survive their own minds, the ones drowning in racing thoughts, the ones self-medicating to quiet the chaos, the ones carrying trauma they never learned how to process, the fathers trying to break cycles, the husbands trying to become better men, the men who feel completely alone, even in a crowded room. This is not therapy. This is not polished, this is honesty. The manic thoughts, the sober reflections, the guilt, the anger, the addiction, the healing, the rebuilding, one conversation at a time. If you're struggling, you're not weak, and you're definitely not alone. Welcome to Manic Ramblings Sober Thoughts. Before we start this episode, I want to put a trigger warning here. This episode talks about mental illness, addiction, distorted thinking, trauma, alcohol abuse, emotional instability, and suicidal thoughts. This is probably the most honest I've ever been publicly about what goes on inside my head. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm just someone trying to understand his own mind while trying to survive it. And maybe if somebody out there hears this and feels less alone, then this podcast is already worth it. Welcome to Manic Ramblings and Sober Thoughts. I don't think people understand what it feels like when your own brain stops feeling safe. People think mental illness is just sadness, or mood swings, or somebody being emotional. But for me, it feels like disappearing inside myself. I'm okay until suddenly I'm not. Throughout this podcast, I am going to read from a journal entry that I made a week or so ago. So this is part of it. There's a moment where it feels like I disappear and something else takes over, like a switch flips out of nowhere. 1 minute I'm fine, and the next my mind won't stop. The rumination starts looping like an old projector reel, playing the same thoughts over and over again, and no matter how hard I try, I can't shut it off. And that's the thing people don't understand about rumination. They think thoughts happen once. They think you can just move on from something because logically it shouldn't matter anymore. But my brain does not work like that. My brain grabs onto thoughts and squeezes them until they become bigger than reality itself. Something that seems tiny to someone else can consume me for hours, sometimes weeks. And while all of that is happening, I'm still expected to function normally. Go to work, be a husband, be a father, smile at people, hold conversations while my mind feels like it's collapsing on itself. Something that seems so simple for other people, just let it go, or just move on, feels so impossible for me. Instead, it feels like I'm trapped in a pitch black room inside my own mind. I'm still inside my body, but I'm not the one controlling it anymore. I'm just searching for the light switch, and no matter how desperately I reach for it, I can't find it. That's when the thoughts get loud. I'm worthless. Why would anyone love me? Why doesn't my family care? What's wrong with me? Why can't I keep people around? Am I toxic? Am I doing enough? And the messed up part is after hearing thoughts like that long enough, eventually you stop questioning them. You start believing them. My body feels it too. My chest tightens, my muscles tense up. It feels like I'm bracing for something terrible even when there's no actual danger in front of me. My thoughts race faster and faster until I can barely hear anything else. And people around you usually can't tell. That's what's scary. You can be sitting next to somebody who's mentally drowning and never know it because they got good at pretending they're okay. I try to distract myself. I try to stay busy. But sometimes the thoughts become louder than everything around me. It feels like my own mind turns against me, like I'm trapped inside my own self-destruction. And honestly, that's exactly what it feels like. Like your brain becomes both the victim and the attacker at the same time. The hardest part is when I'm up while still emotionally drowning underneath it. My body feels exhausted, but my mind refuses to sleep. I become irritated for no real reason, angry without understanding why. It's like every switch inside me gets turned on at the same time, and I have no idea how to shut any of it off. This is the part people romanticize sometimes. Mania. Being up, being energetic, being confident. All the good stuff, or what people think is good. But what people don't see is the chaos underneath it. The irritability, the impulsiveness, the paranoia, the racing thoughts, the emotional instability. You stop sleeping, and after long enough, your brain literally stops processing reality correctly. For a long time, I tried forcing it away. I drank hoping I'd eventually pass out. I took Benadryl just to get a couple hours of sleep. Sometimes I'd sit there thinking maybe if I took one more pill or had one more drink, I could finally rest. I wasn't even fully thinking it through anymore. I was just trying to escape for a little while. And addiction is weird because in the beginning it feels like relief. Alcohol felt like silence. For a few hours my brain slowed down enough for me to breathe. But eventually it stopped helping and started feeding everything I was trying to run from. At the same time, my mind would swing completely the other direction. Nothing is wrong with me. Everyone else is the problem. That's when the projecting started. I'd take my own shortcomings, insecurities, and toxicity and place them onto the other people. I'd twist situations around in my head until it genuinely felt like people were doing things to me, even when looking back now, it's obvious they weren't. And this is probably one of the hardest things I've ever admitted publicly. Things started feeling real even when they were not. My mind would fill in the gaps, and I believed every single second of it. The line between reality and what I thought was happening became blurred. I convinced myself people were against me. I convinced myself I was right. Looking back now, I can see it wasn't reality. But in those moments, it felt completely real to me. That's what scares me the most about mental illness, honestly. Not sadness, not depression. The fact your own mind can convince you something false is true. And in those moments, you don't know you're sick. You think everybody else just doesn't understand or care. And the worst part was being trapped inside of it. Awake, exhausted, angry, lost in my own head while my own mind kept feeding itself more fear, more anger, and more distortion. Looking back, it never really came out of nowhere either. It usually started when I felt up but off. My thoughts sped up. I became irritated easily. I couldn't sleep. I wasn't depressed yet, but I was constantly frustrated and emotionally charged. That's when my thinking started changing. I convinced myself there was nothing wrong with me and that everyone else was the problem. The projecting got worse. The twisted thinking got worse. And eventually the delusions started taking over reality. Then I tried to force it all to stop. I drank more, took more Benadryl, just to sleep. That's when I really started spiraling and losing control. By the time it crashed into depressive lows, I was already too deep inside of it. There was a point where it became worse than I ever want to admit. I don't know what state of mind I was in anymore. Maybe it was everything happening all at once. Sleep deprivation, alcohol, emotional overload, mania, depression, trauma, maybe all of it together. All I know is I stopped feeling like myself. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was not Zach anymore. And honestly, that's the part that scares me the most. There are moments Maddie has told me about that I don't remember. I don't know if it was the alcohol, or my mind shutting down, or just my frontal lobe just going offline, but during those moments, I hurt the person I loved the most in this world. And when it was finally over, that's when the questions started showing up. Do I even remember the happy highs correctly? Is it just anger followed by depression? Does my own mind hate me? Am I constantly feeding myself negativity and toxicity? I keep asking myself if this is just how I'm wired or if it's just something I learned. Was it the environment I grew up in? The chaos? The instability? The way I was raised? Maybe this isn't just high highs and low lows. Maybe it's years of unanswered questions, distorted thinking, emotional conditioning, and comments or moments where I can't fully trust my own mind. And honestly, that scares me more than anything else because I'm the one who has to live inside of it. But I think what hurts the most is realizing how badly untreated mental illness can hurt the people around you, especially the people who love you the most. Because when you're spiraling, you don't always realize what you're doing while it's happening. Sometimes you only fully see the damage once your mind slows down enough to look back. And that guilt is heavy. Knowing you became somebody you never wanted to become. Knowing people saw versions of you that don't even feel real to you now. That's a hard thing to carry. But I'm trying. That's what this podcast is, honestly. It's me trying. Trying to understand myself. Trying to heal. Trying to be a better husband. Trying to be a better father. Trying to break cycles before my kids ever have to carry the same darkness I carried. When I look at my kids, I realize how badly I want them to grow up emotionally safe. I don't want them learning that love equals chaos. I don't want them learning silence equals strength. I don't want them growing up afraid of their own emotions the way so many men were taught to be. I want them to know it's okay to talk, okay to cry, okay to ask for help, okay to not be okay. And maybe that's what healing actually is. Not becoming perfect, not pretending the darkness never existed, but finally becoming self-aware enough to stop passing the pain onto everybody else. I am still here, still trying to understand it, still trying to figure it out, and honestly, maybe I always will be. But if you're listening to this and your own mind feels unsafe sometimes, you are not alone. Thank you for listening to Manic Ramblings and Sober Thoughts.